Welcome to Inspired Cooking with Lana. I am a life coach who loves to cook, so thought I would combine the two and bring you good food and food for thought. So let's get started. So I am craving meatballs. I'm craving something Italian. I love Italian food. So I'm kind of just making this up. It's basically just going to be a really hearty spaghetti sauce with meatballs, and I think I might add a little ricotta cheese to it, and I'm not going to do the pasta. So tonight it's just going to be all about the sauce and the meatballs, and probably a little cheese is going to be involved. So let's get started. So I'm going to do a pound of ground beef and a pound of turkey, ground turkey. So I like the combination. I just am I'm craving beef, but yet I want to kind of keep it light. So I'm just mixing the two together. So a pound of beef with a pound of turkey. And as we mix that, before I get too far involved, I'm going to add some seasonings. Okay, so I did just wash my hands, and now I'm going to add, I'm using Himalayan salt, Himalayan sea salt. I think it's a little saltier than just the regular iodine, salt with iodine. So just remember that as you're using it. And then I'm going to do about a tablespoon of Italian seasoning. And lots of crushed pepper. And I'm also going to add a little fennel. I think fennel gives it kind of a sausage flavor, and I really like the flavor of fennel. So we're going to add some fennel. And I'm going to add some crushed red pepper for a little heat. So I'm not going to do breadcrumbs, I'm not going to do eggs. I'm just seasoning the meat, mixing them together, and I'm just going to make up some meatballs. So I think it's pretty well mixed between the two meats and the seasonings. So now I'm just going to make some meatballs. And I'm going to say about this, a little bit bigger than a golf ball is my preference. Golf ball size, maybe just a little bit bigger. So I'm just going to start making my meatballs, and I'm going to get them into the air fryer, and then we'll start with our sauce. So I've made 9 meatballs, and they are about this, like I said, a little bit bigger than a golf ball. And since I'm going to make I have some meat left over here, and I'm going to make up just a few hamburger patties so that I can have my meatballs and marinara this week, but I also can have a couple of hamburger patties this week. So that's what I'm going to do with the remaining meat. Just some small size hamburger patties. So I have my meatballs in the air fryer, and now I am getting ready to make my sauce. So I'm just letting my pan heat up, and then I'm going to add some avocado oil. And then I'll let that heat up for just a minute. So while that's heating up, I just have a food for thought for you. What is it in your life that when you're doing it, when you're fully engaged, you're not thinking about anything else? You're not thinking about the bills that you have, you're not thinking about yesterday, you're not thinking about tomorrow. So what are some hobbies or some interests or some passions that you have where time truly stops and you're just fully engaged and fully present? I know for me, when I was living in Colorado, just seeing if that's hot, that's not quite hot. When I was living in Colorado, whitewater rafting, kayaking was something, you know, when you're in a kayak and you're getting into the waves, you can't think about anything except being fully in that moment. And it's so exhilarating to be fully in the moment, to be fully present. So, you know, I know kayaking isn't something that's, you know, that everyone could just do, especially here in Kansas City. But, you know, I know golf. I know a lot of people feel that way about golf. I know a lot of people feel that way about music. You know, some of your favorite music that just takes you to the present moment where you're not thinking about anything. Like, I just want to ask you, what are those things for you that bring you to the present moment? So I think my oil is hot enough now. So I am now going to add 1 medium onion that's been diced. And I'm just going to let that cook down a minute. And I'm going to season. I like to season as I go. When I add vegetables, I like to continue to add seasoning. So we're just going to add a little salt and pepper. And onions, as well as peppers, I feel like have about the same firmness. So I'm going to go ahead and add my peppers. So I have a half of a red pepper and a half of a yellow pepper. So I'm going to go ahead and add that to the pot. And a little more salt. And pepper. I'm just going to let this cook for a couple of minutes. So when I was in high school, something where I would totally lose track of time was doing artwork. You know, sitting down and drawing or painting. You know, I could lose hours in a day and not think about anything. So I think, you know, any kind of artwork can be very, you know, meditative as well. And the reason I'm just sharing my ideas is to encourage you to think about yours. Like, you know, what are things that really bring you back to the present moment? So the present moment is where life happens. It's where, you know, again, we allow ourselves to problem solve. We allow ourselves to be creative. There's, you know, so many positive benefits of being in the present moment. So now I'm going to layer in some garlic. I've minced about 4 cloves of garlic. So I'm going to layer that as well. So I have about 2 cloves that I'm putting in now. And I'm just going to let these onions and peppers sweat down a little bit more before I add my next ingredient. Now I'm going to add some zucchini. So what I like about this meal is it's going to have a lot of vegetables. So we're adding zucchini and we're adding cremini mushrooms. And I'm going to add the rest of the garlic. And a little more salt. And pepper. We're just going to let that all cook down for a little bit. So my vegetables are cooking down nicely. So I am now going to add a little more Italian seasoning to my vegetables. And I'm going to add a can of diced petite tomatoes. So all of my vegetables are simmering and cooking nicely and with my diced tomatoes. And now I'm going to add a marinara. So I have here, it's called Dave's Gourmet Wild Mushroom Marinara, which any store-bought marinara will do. I'm really wanting that really thick tomatoey sauce. So we're adding that. And my meatballs are cooked, so I will be adding, so we have, just to make sure they're not too hot here, so I have my meatballs cooked. We're going to add these to the pot. how yummy does this look? So we have 5 different vegetables, not including our diced tomatoes. So our diced tomato is 6 different vegetables, plus our marinara sauce. And then we have our well-seasoned meatballs. And I'm just going to add a little bit of cracked red pepper to this, again, just for a little extra heat. So now I'm going to show you how I'm going to serve this. So I have these bowls that are oven proof, or good for the oven. So I'm going to add my marinara with all of my vegetables. I'm going to make sure I get 2 or 3 meatballs in there. Lots of sauce. And then to that, I am going to add some ricotta cheese. So I'm just going to dollop some ricotta throughout. And I'm going to bake this in the oven just on a high heat to get that ricotta all melted. And this is how I'm going to serve my delicious meatballs in spaghetti sauce. So if you like this recipe, please be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and check out my website at inspiredcookingwithlana.com. Thanks for watching.